This video is how to create your base and your side template for a coil pot. As you can see in the picture, the side template helps to guide your coils and where you need to have them come in and where you need to have them go out in the overall form of your coil vessel. This template will keep your shape exactly how you want it, and it will also make sure that your shape is able to be symmetrical all the way around no matter which angle you look at your coil pot. The first step is deciding what shape or form you want for your coil pot. There are both good and bad shapes or forms for your coil pot. Good shapes are shapes that don't have any angles that are steeper than a 45-degree angle. They also don't have any major flare outs, which helps to keep the light for your luminary in your vessel and push it out the sides that you're going to be cutting out. To make your template, you're going to be using mat board because it's a little bit thicker, and you're going to be tracing out your image on paper and then onto your mat board so that you can use it throughout the whole project without it being destroyed. To make my template on paper, I'm first going to take a blank sheet of paper and fold it in half. This will ensure that any template I make is perfectly symmetrical on both sides. For your coil pots, you should be shooting for between 3.5 and 4 inches on the base and 6 and 8 inches on the height. I'm using a ruler to measure my base. Because this is only half of my pot, I'm going to make a 2-inch base along the bottom. And in my overall form, I want the top and the bottom to be the exact same size. So I'm measuring the height and I'm measuring the width at the top and bottom to make sure that whatever curve I draw in between is exactly symmetrical and the same width at the bottom than it is at the top. Then I'm going to sketch out my overall shape, letting the two meet at the top and at the bottom. I sketch with pencil in case I need to erase. One thing to note that you can see in this picture is that when you build a coil pot, all of your coils need to be at least halfway on top of the coil below it. This keeps your coil pot from collapsing on itself with too steep of angles. As you can see in this diagram, I'm drawing each of my coils. So the coil that is going on the top needs to be at least halfway on top of the coil below it. And that means that you can't have any steeper of an angle than right there. I'm checking my drawing to make sure that my angles are correct and that they're not really any steeper than that 45-degree angle. And then I'm going to use scissors to cut it out on paper. I'm going to take the shape that I just cut out from my paper and trace it onto a piece of mat board on the edge, and then I'm going to use scissors to cut out the mat board. The mat board is a lot more stiff so that we're going to be able to use it for multiple class periods without it falling apart on us. But because it's stiff and we're not using X-Acto knives, we're going to be cutting tabs in the inside of your vase, and that is going to allow your scissors to glide really easily through as you're cutting out your template. The tabs allow the scissors to release as I'm cutting along a steeper curve, and that allows me to get a nicer cut in the bottom. I'm marking which one is the top and bottom, and you're going to keep the outside of your template. For my base template, I have a couple of options in the classroom. We have cookie cutters that you can trace onto your clay. I do not recommend using them to cut out your clay because they often get stuck, but you can trace them onto your clay, and you can also trace them onto a piece of paper to create your very own template, and that way you don't have to wait for anyone else to be done with the one that you need. Your bases should be at least 3.5 inches, but I'm going to go with 4. So I'm using a ruler to measure which one has a diameter of 4 inches, and then I'm going to use that one to trace it onto a piece of paper and cut out my paper template for the base.